Just let me know when we're ready. I'm born ready.
Yeah. Did you say you're Jason born ready?
Oh my God. Be a strong statement.
All right.
3/4 of a mile before my hands start to shake.
He's not
At this altitude.
Yeah.
Are we doing this or not?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Perfect. All right. Welcome back to the GORUCK Show. My name is Blayne, and I am joined by a special guest host this week, Mr. Mickey Banks. What's up, Cadre Mickey?
What's going on? Stoked to be here.
So Jason is out this week. He's up in D.C. He's like teaching a class at Georgetown Business School or something like that. Don't ever let Jason fool you. He's super smart, and other people actually know he's smart too. So he's up there doing some smart stuff. So instead, we've had Mickey join us on the show today, and we're going to talk about the GORUCK Cadre and kind of who they are and maybe who they're not and what they can teach you and why that stuff's important. But maybe the first thing we should get to today is the beer.
Yeah, so because Jason's not here, we're going to do him a solid, and we're going to get rid of all of the non-Budweiser beer that was in the fridge over there. So we've got
It's a random assortment.
Yeah, we've got
There's a couple bottles of Bud Light here.
Ale.
I'm not sure where this came from, but I don't know where this came from.
Yingling. This is probably from Nasty.
No. It's Yingling Light. The Yingling Light is from Nasty. This is actually
That came from some GRTs that dropped it by.
some GRTs dropped it by. We have the best job in the world because people come by and just bring us beer. How good is that, by the way? Rolling Rock from Latrobe, Pennsylvania. This is
Big Nose IPA.
yeah, that's from
Swamp Head
Gainesville,
Brewery.
right?
Yeah.
So that's from Swamp Head
There you
Brewery. The Voodoo Ranger IPA from New Belgium out west. That's what I think both of us have going on right now,
Yeah.
right? We were quick to try to grab the good stuff before we started getting. Not that any of this is bad per se, but some of it's better than others. So we'll see who can finish this one first, and that's who will get the only remaining.
Yeah, quick shot.
Voodoo Ranger IPA. We've also got some body armor on our on our bottles today, just in case the spirit of Jason were to come back into GORUCK and make them shatter instantaneously in our hands. So we've got some body armor.
Can we see your bottle opener real quick?
Yeah, and if we do need a bottle opener at some point, don't worry. We've got the grilling tools handy here.
That's also a microphone.
Also works as a microphone,
Yeah.
Bob Barker style. If you guys want to get into any of that, we can play the prices right later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyway, for those of you that don't know Cadre Mickey, he's been with us a long time, a lot longer than I've been around, and has cadre. How many events would you say you've been cadre for, if you had to guess?
Cruising on around 200 plus.
Around 200.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot. So if you multiply that out by average class size, it's thousands of GRTs at this point, right?
Yeah.
That have kind of been through one of your events. But you've done now a variety of events. So started off doing kind of the challenge, but you've really kind of led the growth of our Constellation event over the last year. So you've done a lot of different stuff, right?
Yeah. So I was the legacy events, tough, light, heavy. Then I moved to expeditions, our kind of older navigators ascents.
The expeditions. What's going to happen with the expeditions, Mickey?
We got a surprise.
Okay.
It's one of good places. And then last year we kicked off Constellation, and I've been involved with that a lot, as well as the new curriculum that's rolling out this year. So it's gonna be.
And we've got a Constellation this weekend, Jack's Beach, right?
Yes, we do. First event of the year with the new curriculum, and I'm pumped. We got some solid cadre. Will and Jeff are coming into town to help out with it, so it's going to be a good time. Well, actually, Will's lead on it. But.
Nice. So I think we've talked about this before, but if you did Constellation last year and you sign up for the 12-hour Constellation this year, is it going to be the same as last year or new stuff?
No, it's actually going to be, there is one module where we hit a refresher because all this stuff is perishable. You're going to need
And the basics are always important, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you don't have the basics, you're absolutely worthless. But after we cover that, it's all new material, and we're gonna get into some really, really cool stuff. I enjoy doing it. It's fun. You can run around and do a bunch of fun stuff with your friends.
So what do you think has led you to do some of the events besides the traditional, the legacy events, the light, tough, heavy? Like you did the expedition, now you're doing Constellation. Are you just like a Jason Bourne? You just have such a wide variety of skills to offer the world, or what's the deal?
Definitely not. I think just being able to come out of that strict cadre role, knife hands and F-bombs. And
wait, have you used an F-bomb in an event?
I don't know. Have I?
I don't know.
Maybe once or twice. But yeah, coming out of that role and actually teaching some folks, like, I can turn you into a hard person physically, mentally, but why? Why am I going to give you that toughness? Now I'm kind of getting into that to like, hey, like you need to be tough if you want to be able to do other skills that are pretty cool too. So.
Yeah, so I want to dive into that a little bit because when you think of the GORUCK Challenge in general and some of the cadre, it's obvious to think, all right, these guys can teach me how to be physically tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to push through my physical limits by being out overnight, 12 hours, whatever you want to call it, carrying things, working as a team. That's good. That's an important aspect of a special operator, right? You're physically and mentally tough, and you have to have the ability to work as a team, right? That's kind of the foundation. But I think that if we just assume that that's who the cadre are, or that's even what our events are, right? It's just going to make you mentally and physically tough. You're kind of missing the bigger picture, which is like what you said. That lays down the foundation. Like that's the starting line.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get to a baseline of like physical and mental toughness, then you have the ability to apply more advanced, more important skills in stressful situations.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of get there first, but then there's this whole other realm that, you know, the GORUCK Cadre and the special operations community can bring to people. So tell me a little bit about like what are some of those other skills? What are some of those other things that we can teach people that might be valuable to them?
I mean, starting with Constellation, for example, you're looking at our 6-hour course, just urban navigation. You know, I think we've come to like count on our phones and all that other stuff.
That's like I don't need to know how to navigate. It's just
exactly. I can
Siri's just going to tell me where all my turns are, right?
Yeah. And so just in I always tell my classes like it's something we already know how to do. Like we grew up in an urban situation or environment for the most part. You know, unless you live out in the middle of fucking nowhere, but. You grew up in a city, so you kind of...
That's one F-bomb for Mickey. No, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Damn it. But yeah, so you already have these skills. Just what we do is we put you through a course, a very quick course to be like, hey, I know how to do this already, so that's one less thing I need to worry about as we're going forward. Yeah. And then, you know, in an urban setting, there's plenty of stuff that we can use, like, in case I can't go to McDonald's and buy a freaking Big Mac or get a glass of water or 2x4 Pabst Blue Ribbon.
So none of the beer on the table was satisfactory. So Goat had to go out and get 2x4 PBRs.
It has a blue ribbon for a reason.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're going to go over that basic stuff that, you know, I feel like, you know, maybe 50 years ago was very common knowledge. Everybody kind of knew how to do. But and I'm not saying nobody knows how to do now, but it's a good skill to have just in case. And you know, we're not trying to be like, oh, the world's going to end and there's a zombie apocalypse.
We're not like doomsday preppers around here so much.
No, that was when this course was kind of brought up. I was like, this cannot be a zombie prep course. Like, I'm not about that. Like, I watch that TV show every once in a while, and that's not the direction I wanted to go. But these are skills that are cool, and it just kind of opens up your mind, and you start to develop a situational awareness that even if you're not applying it to a survival situation, it's going to help you get through your day-to-day a lot better, I think.
Yeah, I think we really have a lack of appreciation for like just the normal kind of creature comforts that exist in day-to-day life. Like you said, like you could go across the street and for $1, you could go to Burger King or McDonald's and like you could get some food if you were really hungry. You could turn on the faucet in a public bathroom and get a drinkable water, right? And I think we take that for granted a lot. I mean, it's great that we have that, but no one really appreciates it if you think about it. And I think some of these courses, even if the only thing you get out of it is just a greater appreciation for this basic like indoor plumbing, easy access to food kind of thing, it's important. But it doesn't take like the total collapse of our economy or the zombie apocalypse for some of this stuff to be relevant. I mean, you could be out and trapped in a snowstorm with your family. Yeah. There could be, I mean, we live on the beach here. There could be a hurricane that knocks out power and clean water. I mean, I was just up in Maine recently on a vacation with my family, and like a windstorm blew through it, knocked out power, and then a lot of those houses that are on a well, they didn't have water or power. Yeah. And it wasn't the end of the world, but like, hey, we're having to like fetch buckets of water from the pond in order to gravity flush the toilets, so the house doesn't smell like poop, right? And like we're having to boil it to have drinking water and stuff, and make formula for the babies. I mean, it's not like an insane hardship, but man, having a few basic skills
Yeah.
made our lives a lot better. And luckily my wife's family is like, they're pretty hardy, like Mainers, so they're used to this stuff. But a lot of people right now would just not even know where to start.
That's one of the things I tell like the participants, like, look, like just having this confidence and having these basic skills puts you in a situation where you are a little bit more hardy than those around you. So you have the opportunity to step up and kind of be a leader and take control of that situation and save your neighbors or save your family or whatever. And I think that's kind of cool too. Like people walk away with it being like, if something does go down, fires. I live in the central coast of California right now. There's fires. We just had mudslides and flash floods and all that stuff. A lot of people lost a lot of stuff, and the people that had just basic skills were able to step in and kind of assist until higher care came, and that was pretty cool.
That feels like a sort of overarching GORUCK thing too, is that like when you can, you should be an asset to your community.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, and so we have the service component, and like it's great, do community service, do these little things that make you an asset to your community, but also develop the physical and the mental toughness, and then some of the hard skills required so that in the riot, fire, mudslides, all the Southern Central California stuff that goes on on a very regular basis, or even here in Florida, like where it's like the home of hurricanes and all the really weird shit that happens in the world seems to happen here. Like, be in a position where you can be an asset to your neighbors, you can be an asset to your community, and not just another person that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Don't be a monkey on the back. Be like somebody carrying that monkey.
Yeah, for sure. So, over the course of your time doing this, you've met a lot of the other cadre, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, you've not done this in isolation. I think I was having lunch with a guy with Rich Angelette yesterday over at Mellow Mushroom, and he was saying that, he's had a lot of different cadre. He's done 19 or 20 events, and some he likes more than others, and they're all just kind of different. So I think that's one thing maybe people don't really appreciate, is that the cadre, even though they're all kind of from the special operations community, they're pretty diverse in their background, but also just in their styles. Yeah. Right? So tell me a little bit about like some of the different people you've run into and how they're able to be effective as leaders and as teachers. I mean, some guys are yellers, some guys are real quiet, some guys are kind of in between. Like even Jason and I, when we sit here, I noticed it when we were out at selection this year, in fact. Jason's got a whole different demeanor when he's out there in that environment.
Vocal firepower superiority.
Yeah, vocal firepower superiority. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I don't even have that in me. Yeah. Like I've got a little bit, only in certain instances, but I'm much more of a sort of, I'm going to give you the disappointed dad look and just kind of like,
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
You know you're doing this wrong, right? Like I don't even know why we're having this conversation because you're completely aware that you're doing it wrong. Like that's more my style. But so tell me a little bit about some of the different cadre you've run into and how they've found a way to be effective using just different styles.
So yeah, I mean it does. It ranges from the yeller to the very quiet guy. All equally is crushing, but there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? And some of it, I think, stems from the kind of cadre they encountered when they were coming up. I've caught myself sometimes like, okay, I know
you're like channeling a drill instructor or something.
I remember going through that exact thing. Not necessarily drill instructor, but just different cadre. But it's kind of their demeanor, and some guys they don't need to yell. They're like over it. They're like, I can, if they're not moving fast enough, then I'll make them move fast enough by adding a log, or you know what I mean, just kind of threaten them with other stuff. Why they're different, I don't really know.
So what scares you more? If you're at an event, or if let's say you're back in like you're doing MARSOC selection or something, right? What's scarier to you? The guy that's just up in your business all the time and like he's just on you and watching every little move, or the quiet type that doesn't swoop in until they're ready to just absolutely crush you?
It's always the quiet one, right? In the bar, no matter wherever, if a fight's about to kick off, the quiet guy in the corner is the one you need to watch out for. It's the same with cadres too. The quiet guys that are just kind of sitting there and observing, and then as soon as you make that mistake, they just come in, and they may not even have to yell, but they will come in and let you know immediately that you've messed up, and they correct it and how they see fit. So that person, that's what scares me. I know. I'm thinking of one cadre in particular. He is a yeller, and I think that he terrifies people with that. Like they're like, I heard he yells a lot. Like I've heard that. Like
that's the rap. That's the
yeah,
MO. He
yells
a lot.
They're like, it's hard because he yells, and I'm like, and for some people that, I think that messes with them just being yelled at if they haven't been yelled at for a long time.
Yeah, because I think it has a different effect on you at like different times throughout the process, right? So I think if you're a yeller, it makes it stressful just to execute. A lot of people aren't able to quite zone it out, right? And so if someone is up in their business, in their face, and it's loud, it creates a lot of distraction. And so like I'm trying to tie a knot, I'm trying to figure out a problem, whatever I'm trying to do. If someone's really loud, it's a big distraction. It can be hard to concentrate. And some people just kind of like, other people can like calm themselves and work through that. And they're like, yeah, you can keep yelling. I'm just going to do this the best I can. You know what I mean?
Like, I think you see it in the like during the tough, for example, during that 12-hour period, like all the yelling and screaming, everybody is dicked up in the first 3 hours, 2-3 hours, because they're yelling at me and I don't know what I'm doing and I'm nervous. But then by hour 8, 9, 10, they're like, I don't give a fuck anymore, dude. Go ahead and yell. Like, that was a quote.
That wasn't a Mickey or
That wasn't him saying it. He was quoting someone else saying it.
I was quoting Jared too. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's part of that process too. Like, at a certain point, yelling and screaming doesn't faze people anymore. They're like over it. They become numb to it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we talked about this a lot at selection. In fact, like this past year's selection was the first one that I've been physically present at and like have been able to be witness to firsthand. And you see the welcome party, and it's just like it's like a shark attack, right? I mean, it's just ferocious. I mean, everyone's there. It's loud, it's obnoxious, like profanity, the whole thing. And some of the participants are just like, I don't even know what to make of this. Like, it's just overwhelming the inputs, right, of what's going on physically and mentally. But then there's a strategy employed to where, 6 or 7 hours later, when it needs to be 1, 2, 3 in the morning, we're intentionally the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Like we're just absolutely quiet. I remember being out on the Devil's Mile with you. Remember that?
Yeah.
And they're pushing the rucks and they're low crawling and doing this stuff, and we're just intentionally not saying a word because we want them to be alone with their thoughts.
Yeah, we
at
walked
3 in the
up
morning.
like 15 meters or whatever. No, just they'll figure it out. But just let them sit there and suffer. And,
Yeah, like we're not even going to be near them at
Yeah.
this point. We'll just let them keep trying to push their rucksack and low crawl, and that can be pretty crushing as well. Just to be no input whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big things at Army Special Forces selection was there's like no feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the things they do intentionally. It was a long time ago when I went. I assume it's still similar. Is that you don't get any positive reinforcement, which that kind of makes sense, right? They don't want to encourage you to pass the course, but you also don't get any negative reinforcement, right? So if you're not doing it right, maybe during log and rifle PT, but otherwise, like no one's yelling at you and calling you a maggot or a turd or trying to like hurry you along. It's just they're just sort of quietly assessing you and putting the tasks on the whiteboard and saying like, do this. And I'll tell you that a lot of dudes, that was the hardest part for them.
Yeah.
Was they just couldn't take the lack of feedback. They would have rather been yelled at and told they were doing poorly than just not told anything at all because they were just in their own heads at that point.
Well, I think because a lot of times like we're our harshest critic, right? So if we're sitting there, we're not getting any kind of baseline on where we're at, then we start to be like, man, I must be doing absolutely horrible, or that's a possibility of going and being able to kind of block that out and keep going is definitely beneficial. But, yeah.
Well, Jason always says that when the GR1 first came out, like before the challenge, like it was basically greeted with silence in the marketplace, and there's nothing worse than silence because criticism at least means that someone's paying attention, right?
Yeah.
But silence could just be like no one even cares.
Yeah.
Like no one's even looking at it. And I think a lot of people in their own minds, especially in today's world, by the way, like now you can like grab your phone and like, look, I could put something on Facebook right now. A good example, actually, we did a scavenger the other day, right? As part of our field day for the employees. We did a scavenger and like I was the team leader. And so I was putting in all our random photos of like, oh, here we are in front of the statue and the bar or whatever. And I'm only putting them on Instagram so that the scorer can give us points for it. I'm not like, carefully cultivating my content and making sure the filter's right or whatever. Yeah, I'm just like, snapping photos, hashtag this, and let's move on. And like people are liking my photos.
Yeah.
And like I pick up my phone an hour later and I've got like 100 likes, and I'm like, who's liking these shitty photos? Like these are terrible. But the point is, like, there's a feedback loop. Like I can do anything now and put something out to the world, and there's at least some feedback. At least somebody's gonna like my tweet or whatever. And it would be a sad place to like, hey, the world just doesn't care about me anymore.
Yeah.
And that's, in some cases, that's one of the best things we can do. I say best. One of the harshest things you can do to somebody is just kind of put them in a no feedback loop where they don't even know if they're doing anything.
Yeah.
So one of the things I kind of want to talk to you about here is like, what are the broad range of skills that the cadre have to offer besides like the obvious ones? Like you think about a special operator and you think physical toughness, mental toughness, and then like probably shooting.
Yeah.
Like I would assume most special operators are pretty good at shooting, so they can teach me to shoot. But there's a pretty big range of skills in between. So like, what are those that people could actually use kind of between like running fast, rucking well, and shooting? Like what else is there?
I mean, I've experienced this recently just in talking to different guys while developing different curriculums. I mean, we got a huge medical knowledge base with the 18 deltas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
18 deltas, by the way, are basically emergency room surgeons. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, just that pool of knowledge right there is awesome. But then you have guys that were, either went through a number of survival schools or were instructors at survival schools. And I mean, that's not just, you stereotypical, right? You think survival, you think you're sitting there with your stupid bow drill trying to start your fucking fire. But
which, by the way, how hard is that? That's 3 Fs for the one. Like, how impossible is it to start a fire? Either doing like the stick. You remember you used to watch or the bow. Like, have you okay? Let's be honest. Have you ever started a real fire using a bow drill or the?
No, definitely not like this. And I was fucking around like that, and I got pissed. I'm sorry. Once I get God damn it. All right. And one of the main reasons is because Chris Way would always be right next to me when we'd be attempting to do it. And he would just knock it out in 5 minutes and be like, awesome. So, but yeah, it's extremely, and especially in a survival situation, if every calorie counts, how many calories are you going to burn sitting there trying to start that fire?
Yeah.
So.
That's why I have a flint.
Exactly. Like I have a ferrocerium rod, or I have a million lighters, or a 9-volt and steel wool, or anything like that. So that's.
Wait, you can start a fire with a 9-volt and steel wool?
Yes, you can.
You guys should go to Constellation. You might learn that.
But yeah, and that's stuff. That's why when I teach or I'm setting up these classes, I'm not going to sit there and try to teach everybody to use a bow drill, because I understand it's a very long and frustrating process. And if they want to learn it, I can show them how to set it up. But I think it's a lot easier and more beneficial to them if I can be like, hey, if you're walking down the street and you see an office building, you can go in there, grab these few items, come out and start a fire. Like that's way easier than sitting there and fucking around with a goddamn bow drill.
So I had a great experience one time. I was out. We were staying on a little creek in Virginia, in Western Virginia, with a friend of mine who was in third group with me.
Okay.
And we wanted to have a fire. Like it was his family and my family, and we wanted to have a fire, outside. Like it'd be great. But it had been raining for the couple days before, so like all the wood that you could gather was basically kind of wet. Mm-hmm. It was kind of crappy conditions to be starting a fire. But we wanted to have one, like with the kids, and do marshmallows and all that, right? So we're convinced we're going to start a fire. So we're gathering wood and we're trying to get it going. And there's a charcoal grill there at this place that we were staying at. And there's some lighter fluid next to the charcoal. And so my buddy Casey Finnegan says, we should use this lighter fluid to start this campfire. Mm-hmm. Right? Pretty smart. And I say, what kind of Green Berets would we be if we're using lighter fluid to start a campfire? And he says, what kind of Green Berets would we be if we were trying to start a fire and we had lighter fluid available and we didn't use it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was like,
exactly I was like, in my mind, I was like,
touche. Like, that's actually a really good point. We probably should just go ahead and use this lighter fluid and stop screwing around out here in the cold trying to start this fire. And so I think that's a common misconception for people, is like, this is sort of like the ranger mentality. Like it's hard, it sucks, I wish it sucked more. Like, no. Yeah. You mentioned every calorie counts sometimes, right? And I think that's a very, very common misconception. And actually, one of the things I appreciated most about getting into SF from the conventional Army was that like we kind of stopped doing things just because they were hard, and we started doing things that made sense. Like, hey, we should probably use lighter fluid if we're trying to start a fire, so we're not wasting our time. And I think a lot of people come into these events or they interact with the cadre and they're like, it's just going to be hard, and they're not going to let us use any of these tools. And I don't think that's true at all. Like, in fact, we'd like for you to be smarter about using the available resosos, right?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, right? One of the GRT...
Except when we need it to be hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of the... If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Like, yeah, cool, I get that, but at the same time, you're not going to understand what I'm trying to teach you if you're sitting there cheating the whole time. So, but yeah, definitely. Like, why sit there with a bow drill for 45 minutes and not start a fire when you can pull out that little big lighter and start a fire? Like, do that. Especially if, I mean, it's one thing if you're doing it just to see if you can do it, but if it is an actual real, a real situation, you have your homies sitting there like hyping out, like, get the fucking fire started so he can warm up, or I'm gonna get these guys wasted.
On your first beer.
I'll race you for the last IPA.
Yeah.
I'm halfway through my second.
Oh no!
Bigger.
Oh
It's
no!
alright.
Don't worry, I have this handy
PBR.
bottle opener here. You're going PBR, huh? I thought you might go for the other IPA on the table. But instead,
Tax?
You touched it already, bro. You touched it.
No, let him do
No,
that. It's fine.
it didn't
Switch it
crack.
out.
Plus this one, who knows how long it's been there.
That one's been rolling around the parking lot for a little
Yeah.
bit. Just, you know that. Oh, like butter.
There it is.
See, I've even, well, you know what? I was going to transition koozies. I'll wait until I get to the PBR for my ODA replacement koozie.
Jenny.
And just tear to my eye, just thinking about it. Here, you want it for your can? There you go.
Wait, do we have to drink if you say your name?
Yes.
You can use my ODA replacement koozie. I'll go back to the body armor since I got a bottle here.
Ever is mentioned.
So let's talk about something that Bomber likes to bring up a lot, which is combatives. So
Only on boats, though.
yes,
Yeah.
Bomber. If you're underway, Bomber's good with combatives.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've noticed is that whenever you're in town, so you live out in California now, but you're coming here to Florida
Yep.
to be with us this
Yep.
summer, right? But you're in town every month or so. You come in, it seems like, something like that. And whenever you're in town, Bomber starts getting real chippy. He's like, he's ready to fight. You know? Normally he's kind of like cowering over there in his corner and like, oh, hey, here's some beer, sir. Just trying to keep you happy. But when Mickey's in town, Bomber's always like, chest is all puffed up. He's ready to get in a fight. And I'm convinced it's because he thinks, this might not be true, that if he gets into an altercation in the workplace, that you're going to have his back as your fellow Marines.
I know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you've got a little bit of a
then
combatives
when-
background.
After we win, then I'm gonna whoop him as well. I'll be like, look what I had to do because
Look
of
what
you.
you did.
Yeah.
I'll finish
you
your
made
fight
me
for
do.
you, but you're next. Stop getting me in fights.
Yeah.
So one of the rules we have is that we can't get in fights at the bars. Are we too grown for that now?
Huh?
Uh,
I feel like we're on the same page.
I feel like that is a solid rule.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore. Like we've got too much to lose at this point. We have the whole, anyway.
You're making it sound like I just come here and start fights for once a month.
No, I'm making
I don't
it sound
remember
like
last time I
you
got
come
in a
here
fight.
and Bomber starts fights on your
Okay,
behalf.
All right.
So, okay, but the question is, of the realm of sort of combatives techniques, like mixed martial arts, whatever. So, boxing, karate, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, whatever. What's your jam? What do you think is the most effective? Going back to kind of the same thought process, though, of like if you're a normal person out there and there's a set of skills you need just in case, right? Like
Get lit up on
not
this.
like not you want to know enough just to go out to the bar and get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
But like if you want to have a set of skills, a competency in some martial art or combatives, the average person, real life scenario, what do they need to learn? What's your recommendation as a guy who's at least dabbled in all of it?
First off, run away.
Run away. Okay. So sprinting, then endurance running are the first two on the list, right? Okay.
I'm honestly like a firm believer, like de-escalate and get out of situations. You have no idea. Like in training and real life, like I've gotten my ass beat by people I would never expect to beat my ass, and it's because you don't ever know who you're going up against. But
there are some that would say that fights there are no winners in a fight.
Yeah.
Which I mildly disagree with, but I understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
But oh man, I'm gonna get lit up on this answer because it's such a heated debate.
Well, take a stance, Mickey Banks. Come on, you're in the story.
I honestly I think Muay Thai is something like if you're out and you're trying to on the sidewalk trying to deal with somebody, Muay Thai is gonna be awesome because you're not gonna be laying on the ground when it kicks off. You're gonna be able to engage, hopefully disable them or at least stop them, slow them down to where you can get out of there without getting hurt. Like that's the whole point of Muay Thai, right?
With a drink?
Striking. What?
With a drink?
With a drink in your hand? No, just drop your drink.
Muay Thai, not Mai Tai.
You could also throw a Mai Tai in someone's face.
You could throw a Mai Tai as well.
My bad.
Can you imagine getting in a fight at like an all-inclusive resort? That'd be a weird thing. You're throwing a free drink in someone's face.
But I will say this: jiu-jitsu as well is awesome. Maybe not because you're like rolling on the ground, trying not to look the dude in the eye, but you learn what part of the bodies that you need to control to move that, to move that person in general. Like if I can control the head, he's going to move this way. Like he's not going to be able to. I take control of his body at that point, his hips or whatever. So everything. I think it was Joe Rogan who said anybody that trains jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, Aikido, Taekwondo, anybody that trains that and is well trained in it, they are a dangerous person. They're just because you begin to develop a mindset and you start to look at things and you develop that kind of situational awareness. Yeah. Right. And that makes you more dangerous. I think that gives you a head start on anybody else.
Yeah, like mindset and genuine confidence, I think, are the first two most important components to actually being able to handle yourself in a real scenario, right? Because mindset being, like you said, just having situational awareness, not being like hyper vigilant, not being paranoid, but just having enough situational awareness, whether you're out and you've had 2 or 3 beers or whatever the case is, like not looking for a fight. But just, I'm sure that you're good at this. I'd like to think that I'm good at this. I can kind of see the dynamics of a room, whether it's at a bar or whatever, and I can kind of say, like, that guy's going to go sideways at some point, so I'm just going to stay over here. To your point about de-escalation, right? Like, I don't even want to I'm definitely not going to talk to any of the people in that guy's small circle of friends because it's just not worth it, And so you start making good decisions around avoidance of conflict to start with, right? Yeah. And that's always kind of a good place. But the other thing is having like genuine confidence to know that, look, first off, I don't have to get in a fight and win it to feel good about myself. Yeah. That's big. I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, they want to get in fights to like feel better about themselves. Whereas like I would like to think at this point in my life, I'm like, hey,
why'd you look at me?
Bomber's very sensitive. He's got a lot of deeply rooted sensitivity. But I don't need to get in a fight with some rando guy and win, so that I can feel good about myself, my training, whatever. I'm all set with that. Like I only want to do it if I absolutely have to, and that's a big mindset to have. But the other thing is just sort of the genuine confidence to know that if you have to, you can, because most people that kind of posture toward violence don't actually want to be in a fight either. Yeah. Right? They just sort of want to do that. And I think if you have some like genuine confidence that like, look, I don't want to do this, but if I have to, I know that I can end this quickly or at least subdue that kind of thing. I think it gives you, I don't know, like it's almost like people can sense it. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't really want to. Well, they don't want to do it. It's like, oh, I might have overstepped my bounds here.
It goes back to the dude that's sitting silently in the corner of the bar, like when stuff starts to heat up. The guy that looks calm, like he's the guy that you don't want to. It's the dude that's all irate and getting fired up because you're like, all right, that guy is a little like insecure right now, but that dude over there has no worries right now, and that worries me. So
no, I totally agree, and I would say that like the other thing to really keep in mind, if we're going to go down this road, is that you don't want to mess with people that have very little to lose. That's another thing.
Like
Like the guy just walked out the window here. Like I'm not picking a fight with that guy.
Yeah.
Because it's true. I think I relate this, like when I was on a team and we would go through a door, I felt like I had to have everybody on my team's total trust and confidence, because a lot of stuff happens on the other side of that door, right? Like things happen, right? Like it's a split-second decision. All these things are going on. You have to have complete trust that if I go left, the number 2 man's going right.
Yeah.
And I have to have total confidence too that if I pull the trigger, it was my best judgment in the moment, and everyone else on my team is with me, and that kind of thing. And you know, these kinds of like, I don't know, fights or whatever are sort of the same deal, right? Like you got to have at a certain point, like, hey, I don't want to kind of go through the threshold of the door, but if I do, I feel confident whatever happens is going to be like, it's going to be okay, you know?
Yeah, and that's what that stuff does. And I don't know, like you're training, you get that confidence, and you're like, all right. And it also, I think, like if you look at like all my instructors that I've ever come in contact with, they're never the guy that goes to the bar and looks for fights. They're always the guys that are like, they'll be the first to tell you like, fighting out in the bar is stupid. Like,
No, why do you go to the bar?
Yeah, well, there's girls there, but
There's girls
there.
No, but that's actually a kind of a fair point, right? Like, why are you even at the bar? Like, why are you out in the first place? Why are you out with your buddies? It's like, well, I would like to. I've worked my butt off all week, or I've been on a 6-week training cycle, and so I'd like to go have a few beers and hang out with my buddies. Or, you know, if you're single, you'd like to like meet a girl. Like, if you're going out to get into trouble, like, that's the wrong mindset. To go back to the mindset piece, right? You just have the wrong mindset altogether.
Yeah. I'm just.
Why are you laughing?
I'm thinking back to freaking Lance Corporal Banks and his buddies, like what they used to go to the bar to do. we were not the most intelligent.
Lance Corporal. I remember when I went to Sapper Leader course at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, right? By the way, Sapper Leader course, maybe the best course in the Army. And I've been to most of the courses in the Army. Sapper Leader course, maybe the best course in the Army. It's 2 months of training crammed into a month. Like it's fantastic. And there are people that would say that Ranger School is 1 month of training crammed into 2 months. Mm-hmm. Like it's okay. But Sapper Leader course is a good ass course, man. And one of the things you do is you do some combatives, you do some modern Army combatives, like the basic stuff we were talking about yesterday, right? Cross collar choke, rear naked choke, the basics. Yeah. And they tell you in the course, we're giving you just enough to be dangerous. If you take what we've learned here over the last like 5 days of intense instruction, and you go into town, and you pick a fight with Billy Bob in St. Robert, Missouri, at the local bar strip club. Yeah. And if you've been to Fort Leonard Wood, you know what I'm talking about. There's like an emporium of sin right outside the gate of Fort Leonard Wood. There's like a liquor store attached to a strip club, attached to like a tattoo parlor, attached to a lingerie shop.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's all. There's a billboard actually across the street that's like stripping is sin or whatever. Like, it's that bad. But they say like if you go out to Big Louie's and you try to employ these tactics we've taught you, it's just enough to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. And they say one of you is going to do this. I don't know who it's going to be, but one of you in the class is going to do this. And so we finished the curriculum for the course. There are a group of people that have to like retest some things like the land nav or 12-mile road march, whatever. But those of us that have passed everything and are going to graduate get a free night, you know, like on pass, right? Nothing more dangerous than a group of young soldiers on a one-night pass, right? And so we all go out. We come back the next morning. We show up at formation, and one of the dudes, Specialist E4, I forget his last name, huge black guy. And I think this is exactly what he did. He went out and he thought he was going to like shoulder throw somebody or something in a bar fight.
He was counting out the steps as he went through the process.
Yeah, he's like 1, 2, 3, right? And some corn-fed kid from Central Missouri just like sticks him with a right cross and boom, right in the eye. The fight's over. He's got a huge black eye. We're in like the graduation photo, like holding the guide on in our BDUs. He's got this big ass black eye, and it's like there you go. I think every Sapper School graduation class has at least one guy with a designated black eye because they just couldn't help themselves but to try to learn or try to like show off their newly learned skills. And
that's like the joke because when you go to Marine Corps boot camp, they do the Mcmap, right? Or they used to. I don't know. I think they still do it. Marine Corps martial arts program. It's the same thing. Like you're
They call it
warrior.
Mcmap.
Yeah.
That
There's a belt system.
It's like kind of like combatives, but like Combatives.
Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
McMansion. It's a Mcmap. Okay, go ahead.
There's a belt system and everything. But yeah, so when you get out of boot camp, you have your tan belt, right?
That's like the web belt you wear, like your rigger belt or whatever.
Yeah, but it's the color of the belt you wear.
But everyone's got it, so it's not really.
Yeah, it's literally like, this is how I stand. This is how I throw a punch. I need to flare my
Do you at least
heel.
on like falling and like getting up?
Yeah, there's like break falls,
Okay, got it.
and then what else do we do? Body hardening. They just make you kick each other in the leg. Which, looking back at it now, is
Body
genius.
hardening.
Yeah, because you're just sitting there. You have a bunch of dudes with shaved heads that like are like
Punch you in
18
the
years
gut,
old and
man.
smell like crap because they've been living in the barracks and they're idiots. And you're just sitting there slamming your forearms into each other and kicking each other in the thighs. And yeah,
Remember when Anderson Silva kicked that guy
and his leg just
and his leg just snapped?
Yup.
Oh,
That's
speaking of
'cause
Muay Thai, oh my
he didn't
god,
he didn't do his body hardening. Apparently, I'm not. No.
dude.
Anderson
You
Silva,
want to talk?
please.
You want to
No,
try
no.
that?
No, please.
All right, anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The Thomas said keep saying body hardening.
Body. I can't.
Only when you're
I'm not-
underway.
yeah.
Go. Body hardening only applies.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, what were you saying about body hardening?
No,
Mcmap?
so the joke is that so after they graduate boot camp, right? You got a bunch of 18-year-old dudes with awesome haircuts.
With the boots
marching around.
going out and getting their boot scar,
Yeah.
right? Does everyone know what a boot scar is? Tell them what a boot scar is.
I don't know. What is boot scar?
That's where you get the Eagle Globe Anchor tattoo
The boot scar.
after you finish. Are you?
I don't.
Goat's got one on his upper arm.
I never.
You can
I don't
show it
have
to
a
us
boot
later.
scar then. I have military tattoos, but they're not boot scars.
That's the deal. That's what you guys call like new recruits, right? They finish, they're recruits, they finish boot camp, they go to the fleet, they're boots, right? When the privates are
Boots,
PFCs,
yeah.
and they go get their Marine Corps tattoo.
San Diego.
USMC or their Eagle Globe Anchor or whatever, right?
Never.
I feel like you should know more about this than I do.
Don't hit him.
I feel like I should too.
Don't
Yeah.
hit him.
Holy hell.
No, I didn't. I honestly didn't get any military tattoos until maybe a year before.
You've got a few tattoos.
Yeah, but I mean, none of them are really military related.
Well, we know
Well,
what
there's a
we're doing
few
when we
we-
move down here.
What's
You,
that?
you and Bomber are gonna go get a tattoo together when you move down here. You want to get the spearhead?
Yeah,
I'll get one with you. It'll be so much fun.
He's
Oh,
got
Bomber's
one
already got a
What?
spearhead. Oh man, he's way ahead of us. I should have known.
Yeah.
We were talking about this yesterday. I'm like, if you have a ton of tattoos, getting like a spearhead tattoo is no big deal. You just throw it on, it blends in. I've got one stupid, shitty tattoo like between my shoulder blades
Okay.
that I got when I was like 18, a long time ago, and I just haven't wanted to get one since. So every additional tattoo, like Bomber's laughing at me. I'm sorry, I don't have a DTF tattoo on my index
Down the
finger
fight,
like
down
you
the
do.
fight. Down the
Down-
fight.
Down
Yeah.
the fight.
It was something else last week. I
Yeah,
can't remember
I
what
feel
it
like
was.
it was
Fish.
not. That's not what it was.
All right,
Fish.
wicked pumpkin. Down the fish, that's what it was. Yeah. All right, so Marine Corps, Mcmap, what were we talking
It just
about?
what we're talking about is like you, kind of the same as the sapper. Like you have just enough understanding to get your ass kicked, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like that's exactly where I'm at, and I feel like I'll be here for probably the rest of my life. Like
I don't
I
think
always
it's true,
feel-
but I love your mindset.
yeah, well, I mean
You know more than enough to get your ass
I'm
kicked.
gonna go right show.
that's a good point. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of like when I go in a situation, I'm like yeah, I can walk around and I can be cocky, or I can realize that there's most likely some dude in here that's gonna beat my ass. Like it's kind of
Yeah, I had a conversation with a guy not that long ago. I was having lunch with a guy in Tampa when I still lived there and I was still working at a nonprofit, and he was like a private equity guy, done really well for himself, about my age though, and his big like
It's okay.
private equity
Mocha
firm.
has a question. real quick.
Mocha's phoning a friend right now.
he's probably rich. Mocha's going on, man.
Mocha Mike.
Oh shoot.
I think Mickey's supposed to be somewhere else right now, maybe.
I have the car keys here. That's why.
Yeah, Mocha can walk the 6
Tell him
blocks
they can
between
ruck down the
offices.
6 blocks.
Rangers lead the way.
Mocha's a ranger. He can ruck it. I know it's cold outside, but he can make it.
He's from Ohio. This is like tropical for him right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Isn't he from Cleveland?
Dude, I didn't. I thought
It's
it was
real
right
cold
there.
in Cleveland right now, isn't
Yeah.
it?
But
It's like 30. It was 28 this morning in Neptune Beach,
yeah,
which seems
it's
insane to
true.
me.
Seems cold.
It was real. No, it doesn't seem cold. It
but
actually
yeah,
was
the car
cold.
keys. If you just want to cruise up here, I can give you the car keys and you can head on out.
This is the cold.
Jason, we need you back, buddy. I hope you're not watching right now. It's not Mickey's fault. It's Mocha's fault. Maybe Bomber's fault even. I'm not sure what's going on.
As long as no one's blaming me.
It's definitely not Lee's fault right now.
That's
Right.
weird.
It could be Nick's fault though. 'Cause
Okay,
he's
alright,
he's
cool.
he's
Thank
pretty
you.
good for
Appreciate
that.
Definitely my fault.
As long as I'm out from under the umbrella.
Bomber, I feel like you could have handled that situation without.
But it wouldn't have been as good. It wouldn't have been as good TV.
Yeah.
If Bomber. Okay, so God dang it, Mcmap's
Mcmap.
Mcmap.
Marine Corps martial art program.
Marine Corps martial art program.
Yeah.
You know, just enough to be dangerous, and that's where you're at now for life. Is that
That's
what
what
you
I
said?
feel. No, but I feel like that is a good place to be. Like, always having that realization that, look, I'm not a master at my craft. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So I was telling you the story about the private equity guy I was having lunch with.
yeah, okay, there we go.
And he's one of these guys that he was really physically fit. He'd done really well for himself in the business world. His dad had started like this hedge fund. And so he went to work there, was like great in the finance world, whatever. But he always kind of had this like, a lot of guys are like this, by the way. Like a lot of GORUCK participants are like this. They always kind of wanted to join the military, but like they couldn't because their eyesight was real bad, or what timing wasn't right.
It was raining
or
that day.
It was raining at the recruiter station or whatever, right? They couldn't join, but they always like. So this guy had like read every book on like the Navy SEALs and the Green Berets and all this stuff. And we're having lunch at this kind of nice restaurant in Tampa, and he's like, "But you could probably like take anybody in here, right?" And I was like, let me just step in real
Such a
quick
common
here.
misconception.
Yeah, I was like, there are probably at least a handful of guys in this restaurant bar right now that if we just got in a fist fight, they could maybe handle me. Like I don't really know, but I'm going with that assumption. I'm always assuming, like you.
Yeah.
Like I have some training, I have a reasonable amount of confidence, but like I'm 165 pounds,
Yeah.
and like if I go into a bar in like Central Kansas, they're like probably half the guys in the bar.
Yeah.
You know, are bigger, stronger, like have been in way more bar fights than me, and can probably handle me. And I was like, the one thing I'll take credit for is like, I might be as tough as anybody in this restaurant right now. Like, I can probably carry a heavy load over a long distance. I can get thrashed. I can run. Like, I can do a CrossFit workout. Like, I could get punched in the face. Like, I'm probably as tough as anybody in here right now, but the idea that I could just pick a fight with anybody in this bar or restaurant and win, whatever that even means, like, I don't think that's true. And even if it was, I have no desire to play that scenario out. Like, I just have none. I don't even want to do it. Like, but the guy that read all the Navy SEAL and the Green Beret books was like, you're like some sort of snake-eating ninja who can just kick anybody's ass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really think that's true. Like, I could definitely shoot pistol better
I
than
feel like that
anybody in
stems
here.
from a certain book than more than the other.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
There are some books out there.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe
I'm just
slightly
kidding.
misleading.
I had to throw that in there for Brett. But no, yeah, I get that. Like, oh, so you know this? I don't know that. Like, I'm confident. Like, I feel like I could get out of a situation, but am I gonna go karate chop everybody in this? No, I'm not gonna do that. Like,
Dude, if we
there's
were,
no
if
secret.
we were
like
to a
death
bar and
punch.
you started karate chopping people, that would be
effective
amazing,
because
dude.
everybody be like, what the
do it
fuck
today.
are these guys doing?
That would be like the greatest Instagram story ever. Right? Just be like, Mickey Max is karate chopping people. Oh my god.
I feel like
like a real
we
life
go one of
bulldog.
two ways. I get through like 5 people before it was like he's only karate chopping, or the first guy who see me coming down, I'm like, he's just like, like, ugh.
Oh,
It's just Goldeneye, man.
golden eye.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but hey, to your earlier point, I think that I could escape or evade from almost any fight I had to be in.
Yeah,
Like, I'm a reasonably good sprinter at this point. Like, I can climb fences.
yeah.
I can run for a real long time. Like, if somebody wants to fight me and I don't want to fight them, I'm almost 100% guaranteed that they
hands
can't.
go numb.
Yeah, I can run a quarter mile,
Alright.
3/4 of a mile
All right. Okay. Cool. That's good knowledge.
at this altitude before my hands start to shake.
16 feet. Yeah, 2 feet.
Yeah.
16 feet.
Oh man. All I know is if somebody really wants to fight me bad and I don't want to fight them, I can avoid a fight, and I'm okay with that at this point.
Plus, we both have Go to step in and take care of it for us.
Yeah, we've got Bomber.
We're solid.
So worst case scenario, Bomber takes his shirt off and we're
You
cool.
take a lot of punches.
We're good to go.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Bomber, I don't even know what we're talking about at this point, but I hope
Yeah,
the
we've,
community
Have
has.
some questions and comments.
Yeah, bring it on in.
Yeah, because
bring it on in.
I'll still this
We've
one.
careened way off.
We're out of material. I'm almost out of beer.
No, you're not.
I'm out of good beer.
This beer's not that good, by the way. East Coast IPAs.
Can I tell y'all one of my fight stories?
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's have a story.
There was-
I would love to hear one.
There was a dark green Marine called LeBlanc.
A dark
His name
green
is-
Marine.
That's
You have to explain to me what that means.
There's no
Is
color
that a
in the
racist
Marine.
thing?
There's no color in the Marine
no color
Corps.
in the
There's
Marine
light
Corps,
green,
but there's
dark
different
green,
shades
raw
of green.
green. Yeah. So I was doing fire watch, and it was his time to wake up, and he wouldn't wake up. So I pulled him out of his rack by his feet, and he fell on the ground like a sack of taters. Now I hope this is the right word, but unbeknownst to me, he had grew up in a boys' home in Chicago and was a boxer. And what's that thing they do this to?
Speed
bag.
He speed bagged my face. I know this was in school of infantry. I didn't even know we were in a fight until like I woke up and I'm like speed bagged, man. It was.
Why by his feet though? So his head just hit the ground?
He jumped up
You didn't
like some
cradle-
kind of
cradle
ninja.
his-
There was. I don't know what happened. It happened that quick.
Okay. Great story, bro.
Okay, here's some Cadre comments. Cadre Chad said, "No Big Macs." He isn't watching this shit. Cadre Dustin said, "You're his girl."
yeah.
Okay.
Ragnar said, "What's up?"
Ragnar always does
Who
what's
said
up. Ragnar, I've
said
been
that.
watching your Instagram pictures in Germany lately. I'm a little bit jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just said he was.
It
in
looks
Germany.
amazing. The beer there is phenomenal.
Yeah.
By the way, like bring us back some beer,
Yeah.
Ragnar.
Because we drank all the other.
We drank all the other non-Budweiser here.
Not yet.
No, you're not even.
The night is
Not
young.
even close.
The night is
I'm
young,
optimistic.
and Mickey and I have a date together on the
Yeah.
couch.
This guy pulls
So,
out.
oh man, okay.
Cadre
Pulls
Cody
out.
just watched. He was silent, didn't say anything.
Cody was just voyeuring the whole scenario. Sounds
Chris-
Navy
Chris
guy.
Way.
Navy guy. Sounds right.
Chris Way was watching your weaknesses.
Watch
He's
my
gonna find your
weaknesses.
weaknesses.
Chris Way also says you should get your Mcmap belt
Tattooed on you. Yeah.
That's actually a good idea. Excellent.
Okay. Some of the questions.
Okay.
What Cadre is the yeller? Who yells a lot? They want names.
We've established Jason as establishing verbal fire superiority.
Verbal firepower superiority. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what needs to be established.
So who else? If you,
Um.
because Jason
not-
did like, I
I'm
think
not
Jason did
gonna
like
throw
Jeff
All of my salty GRTs, go ahead and hop on this post and answer that question for me because they do. I'm not going to throw them under the bus though.
Oh, Mickey B.
Hey,
Mikey B.
there's nothing
Mikey
wrong with
B.
yelling. There's
Mikey
nothing
Beavens?
wrong with yelling. It's a
He's
style.
not a liar or a yeller.
What selection he is?
Really?
Are you kidding me?
He's the
Did you
worst.
hear some of the quotes from
Yeah.
Mikey
Yeah,
B?
he's. I mean, but he's
At
he's not
selection, he had a
necessarily
lot of very profane
yeller.
things to say to the candidates at selection.
He's
Mikey
he's
B.
witty. Mikey B.
Yeah, Mikey B.
He's not a yeller. He's just kind of
Mickey.
But when he
He's
says
a
he's
smart
an
ass cadre.
when he says he's an officer, he means warrant officer, right?
And a 18 Delta at one point.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Jeff
Okay.
Patrick is a big one.
Okay. Next. So does Jason win? Verbal firepower
No.
superiority? No.
No.
Jeff Reeves?
Yeah.
He at least beats Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not CT. I can tell you that. me and Cadre
I'm not working
CT
CT.
we come from the same school.
Mocha hits
We come from
sweet spot.
we come from the
Yeah.
same third group
Yeah.
school of. I hate to say it, but we don't have to puff up our chests too much.
Mocha
We-
has some moments.
He's got some yelling points.
Mocha's got it in him. I like that a lot.
Being mentally and physically unprepared though.
You are not. Yeah.
Mocha will let you know how prepared you are, or lack
Or
thereof.
unprepared, yeah.
Which is not.
All right, what
That's all
else?
you got.
Okay, for 2018, will Constellation have more escape and evasion?
Ooh, more E&E during Constellation.
Yeah. But it's not going to be just the mad dash like it was last year. Usually we'd kick them off for the Colex and everybody would just sprint to the start point so they couldn't get pepper sprayed anymore.
Makes sense.
This year it's going to be more difficult, and they will have had to correctly carried out further, like earlier lessons, to be able to quickly move through the codex. Put it that way.
So more escape and evasion.
In a more complicated area.
I like it.
More
Let's be honest. You made it more complicated to maximize Cadre's
Pepper spray time, yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
Okay.
I look forward to seeing it. Okay.
When will I decide on lunch?
Maritime survival opportunity.
That is above my pay grade. But
It's going to be soon.
It is soon. It's sitting there. It's
The
just
idea,
waiting.
the idea was before the end of January. I think
Yeah.
BD was on the show last week, right? Last week or the week before?
68,000 viewers according to BD. More than
We
selection.
have 73 this
You
week.
said it's smashed selection.
Yeah.
How many we
BD.
73.
BD's self-glossing. He's pumping up his own celebrity there a little bit. We love you, BD.
1,000.
Yeah. So the Poseidon events, which is like sort of the maritime survival course, it's gonna launch before the end of this month. But by my math, it's 12 to 13 more days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
look for it.
Be on the lookout for
will
it.
be
It's an awesome course. Dustin, my girl, worked his ass off for it.
Yeah, Dustin's done a nice job, man. That's going to be a good course, by the way. Man,
so I think
if you don't like being wet, it's going to suck. But
Yeah.
otherwise,
there's the 6 and the 12, and I think the big difference is between the 6 and the 12 is the type of boat you're on when it capsized. So 6 hours, like, hey, I was out water skiing, I can see the shore, my boat capsized. What do I do to survive the situation? 12-hour is I was on a cruise ship. Cruise ship went down. Now I can't see the shore. How do I survive? So those are the big differences on that.
that's a good way to put it. I'm glad that I would not have been able to frame it
That's,
so eloquently. That's very
It's an
nice.
amphibious warrior right there. Right?
Yeah, well, I'm not a Marine, so it makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Okay, Patty Young Trahan said that this show helps her understand her veteran husband. So she said, thank you.
Patty, I don't know what to say, but I can tell you, as a divorced veteran husband, anything we can do to help you better understand your husband and have that connection, we are very, very happy to do.
Okay, and a couple
Stick with him. He's okay. Stick with him.
Couple of shouts to Mickey B. Anthony said the 9/11 you did was awesome, and Jeff Kinderman said thanks for the Constellation in Indy. He had a really good time.
That was a good event. That was a really fun event.
Yes, and I'll make also. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Just want to put that out there.
As am I.
As you are.
As am I.
Okay, and then the last thing was, Blayne, the last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, we had our workshop, and then we had our field day, which we did a post on the Tough page. We'd like to kind of tell people what we did and what's in store for 2018.
Yeah, sure. So we spent the whole day Monday. We kind of closed up the shop, and every one of the GORUCK employees, including some of the cadre from out of town, came in. And we basically just spent the whole day talking about our plan for 2018 and how we can help each other be more successful throughout the year. So we mixed it up a little bit. We had an opportunity for like the marketing folks to spend some time together and the events folks to spend some time together and all of that. But we also carved out some time to like really mix up the group and for a few folks in events to say, hey, I want to be better at this. How can I be better? And for folks from marketing and finance and operations to weigh in on that and vice versa. So I had a really good time doing it. I hope you guys found it to be useful too. But the bottom line is that like we work for you guys. And I know Jason says it all the time, but he's not bullshitting. Like we could go do something else if it made more sense, but we like doing this. And we can't do it if it's not for the people who buy our stuff and come to our events. And so all we really think about is how can we make better stuff and do better stuff on your behalf. So we just basically took a whole day to think about like how can we be better? How can we achieve our goals in 2018? So I feel good about it. I mean, I feel like our whole team cares a great deal about delivering great events to people, delivering great products to people, delivering great customer service to people, giving back to the community. I mean, these are the kind of things we talked about in our meeting, and like we take this shit real seriously. So, I mean, like we're gonna screw stuff up. We're definitely imperfect. Like, some people will be unhappy from time to time, but the idea that like we don't care is preposterous. Like we care a lot, almost to a fault. You can ask like our spouses and they'll tell you like we care a great deal about GORUCK as a brand, as a company, as a community, and like we just want to do a nice job for the folks that are out there carrying rucks and doing events. So any opportunity we have to pull back a little bit from like the treadmill of life, which you guys all understand this, right? You all have email, you all have jobs, you all have kids, like you get it. The treadmill of life will get you just kind of like looking at the 6 inches in front of your eyeballs, right? And our only goal for this week was just to be able to zoom out just enough to like have some perspective on the stuff that's really important and what's really necessary for us to accomplish. And like we'll catch up over the next few days on the treadmill stuff, the email and the customer service tickets and the whatever. But the big ideas for this year are, one, rucking. Like we really believe in rucking, and that's no kidding. Like we want more people to be rucking. I think it's such an awesome activity and fitness exercise for everyone, from like really what I would call deconditioned people, like people who are out of shape and need something to get them like back on the wagon and moving and to a more like kind of positive, active lifestyle. It's great for them. It's also great for really high-end athletes. I had a really good call this week with Kelly Starrett, which some of you guys may or may not know. The guy's like a guru of human performance, like way deep in the CrossFit world and some of that stuff. And he basically said, rucking is the foundation for what most people need in terms of their physical exercise. That's a pretty big statement from a guy who spent a lot of time as a doctor of physical therapy and in CrossFit and all that stuff. I mean, I think the quote that I shared with the team that he shared with me was, moving with a weight over distance is the fucking definition of being a human. And I'm quoting him on that, so it doesn't count against me. Like that's kind of a big deal. And so we take that stuff real seriously, to say that like, look, we're not trying to trick you into like saying that walking is rucking, but like with a funny name. Like we really believe that putting a weight on your back and carrying it over distance, especially with people, is maybe the best thing you can do for your overall well-being and your quality of life. And like, I mean that with every fiber of my being. So we spent a lot of time talking about how do we grow rucking, get more people doing it, and like how can we deliver on that promise and make sure that like we have the stuff that will help people to do that. You know what I mean? And the other component, like the kind of the two kind of lenses through which we pull everything, is what I would call the SF avatar. And that's what we've talked about a lot actually on the show today, which is like, who is a Green Beret? Who are the cadre? What does that lifestyle look like? What does a Green Beret have to offer regular people? And how can that help them be more physically fit, more socially active, more resilient, more hardy, which is a word we used here today, more prepared to be an asset to their community in the case of fire, riot, mudslide, hurricane. We have a unique opportunity, I think, to provide that to people. I think people need it, whether they know it or not, and we want to provide that for them. So every single thing we do at GORUCK, at least for 2018, is being pulled through the lens of, does it grow rucking? And does it fit within sort of the SF avatar, or sort of that way of life? And the simpler we can make things for us here, I think the more successful we'll be at like delivering on it. So, does that? Am I making that up? Am I talking about my ass, or is that actually what we did? Okay,
it's perfect.
Yeah.
Lastly, Brian Singlin, Emma Chesky, a lot of New Orleans folks, a lot of the Cleveland folks are down for the WARA 1812 event in New Orleans this weekend with Shredder. So I know they're watching. They made some comments and sent some selfies. So just wanted to acknowledge them.
You guys get after it, man. You're not going to get the nice warm weather that you might be hoping for this time of year in New Orleans. So I'm sorry about that. But like I said, it was 28 today in Neptune Beach. So I'm making a lot of apologies to people that are down here on vacation, going to Disney and stuff. But hey, sorry.
Look, this is warm compared to the rest of the country.
Yeah, but hey, at least
You know
30 is warmer than 15.
They all keep telling us to stop complaining. So, you know, like, have fun on your vacation down here. It's plenty warm. Be cozy.
We're getting a barefoot commentary from Nick.
Nick has the dirtiest feet.
Is like telling us how to.
I mean, look at the dirty, like, Tar Heel.
I would love for Mickey B to choke Nick out today, but not on camera.
Not on camera?
Let's talk.
Now what's it happened? I've been on here and we've been talking about different like martial arts and all that. And the next time I'm gonna go do an event, I'm just gonna get cold clock. Be like, oh, I thought you were going to see that because you're like Muay Thai master. I'm like, no, I'm not.
We're not trying to set you up for failure like that. All right. Well, since we're gonna choke Nick off camera, I guess we'll wrap it up. Feel
Sounds
good?
good to me.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Oh God, why do they?
You hadn't even stopped it, Nick.